The body goes through a lot of changes after you raise your vibration. And the interesting thing is a lot of these changes initially can seem like problems, complications. After you raise your vibration, you become more sensitive by nature. And because of that, you become more sensitive to anything you put into your physical body, even information, even digital stimulation, for example. And it can seem like after you take this huge leap in your consciousness and you climb up the ladder of vibration, it can seem like you're running into a lot of problems with your body, health issues even. Your sleep might be disrupted. And this is not a bad thing, even though it can feel that way. It can feel like you've lowered your vibration because you're feeling this discomfort in your body and in your nervous system, but really it's just you've evolved and now just need to make a few different changes, or at the very least ride out this very temporary period of adjustment. And what this video is going to do, it's going to share with you the 5 most common things that'll happen to your body after you've raised your vibration, after a big spiritual breakthrough, after a big emotional release, a game-changing insight. These things will oftentimes manifest temporarily in the body, and it can be just very helpful to kind of know what they are. And I'll also give you some tips in terms of how to mitigate the challenges and how to move through some of the tight spots. And also just having an understanding will allow you to not see it as a problem, but rather as evidence to the progress you've already made. One of the first things that'll happen to a person is their diet will need to change. You might find yourself becoming more sensitive to foods you used to eat that didn't notice the problems or the side effects as much before. And this can be obvious things like, junk food and alcohol, and if you're smoking cigarettes or vaping or those kind of things. You could do those things for a long time and kind of get by. You become used to it. I used to be a smoker. It wasn't that I felt unhealthy every day. I even worked out and stuff. And after the gym, I'd have a smoke. It's a funny thing. But there comes a point after you've made a big jump where all of a sudden what you've been doing, all of a sudden it just doesn't work. Maybe if you're a smoker, for example, you keep getting sick, you keep getting a cold, you just can't shake. And you're just realizing what it's doing to your body. The side effects become kind of intensified. Now, it doesn't have to be with that though. Some of you are thinking, I don't smoke, Vic. I eat pretty healthy and I'm going through this. I'll give a kind of a funny example. This happened to me a while back with Ezekiel bread. You guys know what Ezekiel bread is? It's like a super healthy bread. It doesn't even taste that good. It comes frozen. It's sprouted grains and it has like good quality protein and it's very, very clean. And I was eating this all the time because it's for most people a very healthy food. But I got to a point where I started to notice that I would feel foggy afterwards and almost have like a slight headache. It just became obvious that after I ate this freaking Ezekiel bread, I just felt off. I did not feel good. And the more I ate it, the worse and worse I felt. So for me, it was like, okay, even though if you look up Ezekiel bread right now, you're going to see a bunch of benefits and people promoting it and it's a good thing. For me, at this time, it's not. And you might be having your own version of that. And it's good because it's a good time to upgrade yourself, to upgrade your habits with your diet. And what you might find is what I found is that there is no good or bad. Rather, there are seasons to the body. And some of you, one of the things I went through shortly after my spiritual awakening, after a big vibrational upgrade, is I stopped eating all meat, all animal products, and ate mostly just fruits and vegetables. And that's what I needed for a while because I don't know why exactly. I speculate it's because I needed to purge out a bunch of toxins and go through like a detox from pretty much for like the whole first half of my life. I was like detoxing and those really healthy high vibe foods like vegetable juices, and I ate fruits and salads and things like that. At one point I was just eating the raw diet, just purely raw fruits and vegetables and like nuts. And that was great for a while. I felt amazing. I felt high vibe. But eventually, my body was like, you need some sustenance, bro. I was withering away. I lost like 30 pounds. I was like 104. I'm like almost 6 foot tall, and I weighed like 147 at my lowest. I was just very, very skinny. I lost all my muscle, and I was getting sick all the time. I was just not feeling good. And it was like, okay, now it's time to shift. And once I allowed myself, which I had to, I had like all these like, I had a lot of resistance to going back to eating, heavier foods, but eventually I had to. And once I did, I felt great. It was like, yes, this is exactly, my body was just like, just soaking it all in. And I felt amazing. And then there were other times where I would kind of go back in this direction. But the point is, it's not like, when I was going through that with my diet, I thought like I would eat this way forever because it was a high vibe way of eating. And why would I go down? But there are different purposes to different types of foods. And regardless, after you raise your vibration, you might need to just make some changes. And a word of the wise is don't get too stuck on them, because you'll likely shift, you'll likely change, and your body has an intelligence of its own. But the more you raise your vibration, the more you're going to need to kind of like follow suit with the foods putting in your body. But again, it's easy. It'll be very obvious what is not resonating. And then when you eat foods that do resonate, that'll also be very obvious. You'll feel clear, you'll feel energized, you'll feel good, you'll feel strong, you'll feel healthy. So it's just a time of adjusting. Number 2 is your central nervous system will be a lot more easily activated. Particularly, like the nervous system has like two essential branches. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is good. That's what happens when you're resting and sleeping and meditating and doing yoga. It's when your body goes into a state of repair, essentially. And then there's the sympathetic. This is also good because we can't just be resting all the time, obviously. So the sympathetic, when that gets activated, you become more alert, more focused. You have more adrenaline in your system, and it's a good time to get stuff done and work and think and produce and create. And a lot of people, they will get kind of stuck in the sympathetic nervous system. You want your body to kind of go back and forth and have like these natural rhythms of turning it on when things need to be dealt with. And then when they're not, once you resolve it, you can rest. And this keeps you in balance. But what happens after you raise your vibration, your nervous system becomes so easily stimulated, especially in our environment with like for example, like next time I invite you to tune into your body when you're watching like an action movie. I love action movies. I love the Marvel movies. We're going to the Guardians of the Galaxies right now. In fact, my family and I love it. But it gets me worked up. Pay attention. You'll feel, or especially if you're like doom scrolling or you're spending too much time on your phone or on TikTok or whatever, notice how you feel. What that's doing is it's stimulating this sympathetic branch of your nervous system, so it can keep people locked in. So even after the day is done and your body wants to wind down, the sun is setting, you're on your phone and you're like, it's like getting worked up. And this can lead to all sorts of imbalances. This will start to eventually disrupt your sleep. It'll cause fatigue. It can cause weight gain. It can cause depression. It can just make you feel like just discontent and restless. And it's so imagine after you have a big breakthrough and then all of a sudden you become depressed, restless, your sleep is going out the window and all these problems are happening, and they're not problems. It's just you've changed. You've rarefied yourself, and now whatever your lifestyle, whatever part of your lifestyle that is creating this imbalance, for most of us, it's our cell phones, it's not going to work for you. It's going to continue to create imbalance until you make the adjustments. So right now, if you relate with this, what is getting you unnecessarily worked up? What adjustments could you make? And the cool thing is, once you make those adjustments, for one, balance will be restored. And that feels good. When you finally like get back into balance and your sleep improves and you wake up feeling energized and excited and happy and in a positive mood, confident, that's awesome. But also you'll start to create even better stuff. It's like there's a momentum. When you keep up your lifestyle with your raising vibration, it will allow you to raise your vibration even faster and go and soar even higher and feel even better. Number 3, a lot of people develop like a general semi-chronic anxiety. Believe it or not, after you raise vibration, who would have thought? Now I have anxiety. Geez, what a problem. This is also good because when you raise your vibration, you become more self-aware. And that anxiety was always there. It was just blunted by your lack of awareness. You were filtering it out. And that anxiety is usually the result of something else even deeper you're carrying. And now that you've raised your frequency, you can detect that. And that anxiety can be a very helpful clue to where it's coming from. And so just as you clean up your diet, you get to clean up your shadow, clean up your aura. And this anxiety tells you it's there and can cause you to look at it. But initially, to be honest, it can feel kind of inconvenient. I noticed this the other day. I noticed this just a couple days ago. I was at my martial arts gym, something I love to do, training boxing and kickboxing and Muay Thai. And I've been going for over a year, and I'm quite comfortable there. But I noticed at the end of class, I felt so anxious. And I remember in my mind, it didn't make sense because I had a great workout. I felt good. There was nothing obvious to me. I started asking, why do I feel anxious? What's the source of this? This doesn't make any sense. And I realized it was just being in a social setting for me. It made me aware of even other layers of like my own social, I don't know, inadequacies, deeper stuff that makes me feel like I have to be more than I am around other people, that kind of thing. But this sort of general annoying anxiety was like, oh, there's still something there. And then on the car ride home, I was able to kind of contemplate that and let some of that go and make some nice inner breakthroughs. So this anxiety in your body, it can be a clue to what's causing it. And because you've raised your frequency, you just might be able to get to the bottom of it and pluck it out by the root. Another common one is your heart center will start to open. And what I mean by that is you're kind of at a point where you can feel, you have a greater capacity to feel love, essentially. But again, like the pattern of all these other ones, it doesn't always come on that way, where all of a sudden you raise your vibration and you feel more love. Maybe initially, maybe temporarily, but that goes away and is replaced with usually the opposite: contraction, tension, heaviness in the chest area, feeling blocked from love maybe. This, like the anxiety, is also a product of this enhanced awareness you've given yourself, essentially. I'll give an example. When I was training for somatic release breathwork, the certification years ago, I remember we were doing these partner drills, and we were basically practicing being consoling to like a client going through breath work. At one point I was playing the practitioner and there, it's okay, that kind of thing. And then when it was their turn to sort of console me, and they started rubbing my back, and I felt the moment that started to happen, my body seized up like this. And I felt my chest kind of like contract. And I thought, oh, that's odd. This is actually a very pleasant experience. Someone's like being nice to me. And I felt safe and trustworthy. Why am I doing this? Why am I blocking out something that every human being longs for? Love, acceptance, goodness, connection. And that's the question. Why was I? And that led to a bunch of breakthroughs because I was able to examine it because of the tension in my chest. Sometimes this tension can even cause like heart palpitations and feeling like there's energy moving in your chest. I'm not a doctor. Don't just listen to the YouTuber Victor Oddo. But a lot of times I can say what I've observed is it can be a symptom of just like, it's like an energetic thing and temporary, and again, indicative of like this heart opening. Because once you start to investigate it and be with it and sort of hold space for this tension, these unresolved parts of you can resolve, can release. And through that, you open up your heart to greater capacities for love. And you might even get glimpses here and there. It kind of might go back and forth. You might oscillate between contraction and then little spurts of openness. When I went through this a long time ago, I remember I just saw this one thing online, and it was of a homeless person, a homeless person who noticed there was another homeless person without a shirt. And they look kind of like, forlorn and miserable and cold. And this homeless person, without even thinking twice, took his own shirt off and gave it to him. And the person didn't know he was being recorded. I observed his eyes very carefully, and it was very clear to me that he didn't do it to like, it wasn't this like, this he didn't do it for the vanity and like he didn't give a shit. He was homeless. He was like, okay. He literally just did it. It was a genuine altruistic deed that I witnessed. And when I saw that, I literally felt this like, I felt this strong, warm, very visceral feeling of love. I actually wept a little bit. I broke out into tears because it just touched me so deeply. So you might find yourself having that as well. Maybe you're watching a movie or a TV show and you're like, man, or listen to a song, you just feel it. You just feel it in a deeper way. That's also a good sign. But again, it can be kind of interspersed with the exact opposite, but even that can be productive. This next one I call energy system activation. As you raise your frequency, you start to sometimes experience what, the ancient yogis and masters talk about. There's like this phenomenon of kundalini, chi, these like invisible, but yet according to them, tangible energies that are like a source of energy, source of like awareness, consciousness, even it's like psychic libido, as Carl Jung would say. And these are just words, right? But as you raise your vibration, you might start to feel it. Feel actual movement of this sort of like psychic energy moving up and down your spine. You might feel the different chakra points either opened up and like energy coming out of it, or also contracted because there's a blockage you have to look at. And nonetheless, it's like this subtle energy you become aware of it. But that can be kind of confusing. When it happened to me many years ago, I would find that this sort of allegedly helpful subtle energy, it would pool in my head and in my third eye area. And I would get these like tension headaches. It felt so severe that it felt almost like sinus pressure. It would cloud my thinking. It would make articulating my thoughts very difficult. And I became kind of obsessed and preoccupied with it. And it just became like this nagging, annoying gathering of energy that was just like stuck, manifesting itself as tension in my head, like all the time. It wasn't a bad thing. It was because I had become aware of this psychic energy. More of it was starting to flow. It was purifying me, purifying the chakras, purifying the nervous system, elevating my consciousness. All good stuff. But it kind of helps to know. And it can feel like tingling, heat, pressure, movement. And it's a trippy thing also. I've also experienced like very hot energy going up my spine. When that happened the first time, I couldn't help but wonder if there was a serious problem. Am I having some kind of crazy like bad thing happen to my body? I didn't know. But actually it's a good thing. And I eventually learned that, and I was able to kind of enjoy it. Like, oh wow. I was able to see it as a positive, like an opening of this psychic energy, which is what it was. So I just say that in case you've experienced that and, like me, thought it was, reacted with concern initially. Hope this video helped, my friend. And by the way, if you are interested in doing something that can help you release some of this tension, if you relate with this, if you relate with having the anxiety, if you relate with even knowing it's connected to something deeper, I run these free online ceremonies about once a month. And what we do oftentimes is somatic release breath work. It's a very powerful breathing ceremony with music and different things we do that can help you purge a lot of these very dense, deeply rooted core wounds and emotional pockets of energy. And I do them for free. And if it's something you want to be a part of it, if you want to join the next one, I'll leave a link down below. Check it out. And you put your email address in, and then I'll just send you the Zoom link and the day and the time of the upcoming ceremony. My wife and I do them. So figured I'd throw that out there if you are interested. With that said, have an amazing day. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.